But when it comes to music, a lot of it goes back to publishing. When you're young, you're not thinking about these things. You really don't have too many people to guide you because you're really not of age to really understand business anyways. But when you throw publishing in, publishing is a real kind of you really got to know some type level of education on these things, and not too many artists at young ages would know that. Publishing is probably the most important thing as far as getting paid from your music.
Residual income, like you
Yeah,
said, man. There
that
are
that's
conspiracy
for
theories
years.
that say Michael Jackson, you know, and the Beatles catalog and all of these different things that
Elvis,
he owned,
Eminem,
right?
yeah,
But go
yeah.
ahead. I
No,
didn't
no,
mean
no,
to
no. He's right. I
interrupt.
mean, it's the thing with publishing. I remember I went to, it might have been an ASCAP award, and I was sitting there, and I was noticing that they was calling out the artist names for the awards, but there was like these old white guys going up there receiving the awards, and I'm like, man, I said that's not the artist who sung the award, but it had a click in me. They own the publishing, and when you're a producer, I produced a couple of songs, and I'm gonna give you an example. I did a song on Nas's album, myself and Jeff Two Times and JB, rest in peace, who's called The Hangman 3. And we had produced a song, and we used a Stacey Lattisaw sample. So we didn't get paid too much from it because the actual sample from Stacey Lattisaw took up all the publishing. But it didn't even go to her. It went to the people that actually bought her publishing. So, if there's any advice out there to any artist, when it comes to publishing, get a lawyer, and you really don't want to sell off your publishing quick. Of course, if you need the money, you have to do what you got to do. People, dangle a carrot in front of you. And a lot of times, it's not really worth it, but you need the money, so what can you do? And that's how they kind of take advantage of artists that don't have anything. That's like, okay, we'll give you a publishing deal and we'll give you this upfront money, but we'll own a certain percent. And then later on, these songs sell millions and they're in all kinds of movies and all kinds of products. And it's like, man, if I never sold that publishing, I'd be getting way more money now. So it's like a catch-22.
I wanted to ask you about having a daughter who is really making some moves in this generation of hip hop. We've seen it grow, and I know both you and Ron have talked about just what it's like, this cutthroat industry. What kind of advice do you give her, and how do you guide her?
Well, first I want to shout out to Coyle Ray, you know what I'm saying? She's definitely doing her thing. I have four kids, and actually my son, Ray Chavo, he goes by the name of Chavo, he got signed to Universal when he was 9 years old. And of course, Coy is doing her thing now. Very proud of them both. Having kids in the industry, this generation, Coy's generation, Gen Z, they don't, this is the generation that kind of has to learn on their own. They listen, but they kind of, it's almost like they listen, but they kind of have to go out there and experience it. This is the experience generation, They don't listen, I don't think, as much as we did when we came up. My kids are pretty independent when it comes to music. They want to do things their way. And it's only because they grew up in the studio all their life. I mean, I've been around music and studios, man, I'm 56, at least 40 of those years. So they've been around it. I try to give them as much advice as possible, as much advice as that they'll take in. And, without leaning on them too much. I think, like I said, this generation is about kind of finding out on their own, which can, it's like a double-edged sword. It could be good, but also, if there's a pothole and I know the pothole's there, and if I'm telling them, but, it's like, hey, Dad, listen, you're a little bit older, things are different now. So they have to kind of, go in the pothole themselves and climb out. But I'm always here for them. There's not too much I don't know now about the industry and the pitfalls of it. Like Ronnie said, it's a cutthroat business. I know the game is made to fool you and take from you. as far as the money side. It's kind of made to take advantage of you. I mean, you hear horror stories of artists all the time, and it's not like it's a big coincidence. It's just designed to, if you don't have the knowledge, then we're gonna take advantage of you.
Now, with the horror stories, I'm just curious. Like, Ron, what were the feelings like when you come back off a tour? There's no money. You're going home to your family. Clearly, you're playing the packed arenas, but you come home with no money. I mean, I feel like you got to be a pretty cold and callous individual.
Yeah.
And I know people talk about being shrewd, and we've all seen contracts, but what's that like? What was that feeling like? And what did your family say when you got home?
It's there's levels to it, right? Like you're traveling up to New York City and you're making, $1,500 a show, right? You're going up there initially on the weekends and you're doing 2 and 3 shows at night, starting at 12:30 at night, because the clubs don't pop off in New York City, but we're 15, 14 at the time, right? Friday, Saturday night, we get in the car and go back, $1,500, right? Okay, we're making this thing called per diem, at this point. Like, before that, mama, can I get $5? Can I get $2? Like, that's the level of what you're reaching for. You know what I'm saying? At that age, like, I just want an allowance, every week or whatever that is. So then all of a sudden, per diem, $35 a day is being put on the plate, right? Like, yo, I'm staying in a hotel and I can order shrimp cocktail downstairs, but I'm still making $1,500, $2,500. Like, I'm not even really thinking about that. I'm like, yo, I elevated from $10 a week to $35 a day on the weekends, right? And we're learning, throughout the process. We come home after that off of a tour, like you said, that's a whole different thing. The dollar and some change, right, was in the bank account. We made money, along the way, little certain drawdowns where they got to pay you $1,000 here, whatever that is. Like, so you're making a little bit more money along the way. It's from $10 to per diem, $35 a day to, okay, now it's $1,500 a week or $2,500 a week. We're rising up the scale, but at the same time, we're learning the business, right? And we're seeking information. And for me, I was a late bloomer on that side. Like, kudos to Michael Bivins, kudos to my mom at times, saying, look, what the hell is going on? I love my Uncle Brooke for really just sitting me in New Edition, knowing I had the talent and coming back and saying, Ron, do you want to be in this group that I knew about? Hell yeah, and him being able to try and figure it out, at the same time, but really not knowing. Like, we have the talent, we have the vision, we're trying to take this thing up a level, but we don't know. Like, we're being thrust into some shit that's upper level when all we've been taught was to think on this level.
And
right?
that's where it feels almost criminal with what they do to young black artists. Actually, let's just take young artists that don't have anything. They come dangle something knowing your mom's behind on the rent. Yeah. And the smallest thing, you still sound appreciative, and neither one of you sound bitter when I would be.